Hello, and welcome to an introduction to Excel for your personal budgeting needs. My name is Jessica. I'm a library clerk at the Maston Public Library. I've been using Excel for quite a few years. I have some background too, working in some accounting firms where they use Excel pretty extensively, so I'm fairly familiar with it. I mean, you can really get very complicated with Excel and do some quite amazing sort of wizardry with it when it comes to formulas. But today we're going to start with a basic introduction on how to make your own bill tracking worksheet. I've been tracking my own personal bills for many years now, and a lot of people have asked me how I keep them straight, how I make sure everything's paid on time, and this is just something that I've built into my routine, and I find it very helpful. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. To do this, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so what you see here is what you'll see when you open up the Excel program. And it will start at this little home icon, and if you just click new, it'll just open a blank worksheet. As you can see, there are some other things that you can do, some templates that are already built in. I personally have not found a template that works for me, for my needs, which is why I built one of my own. So I'm just going to open a blank worksheet, and then we're going to modify it for what we want. Now, if you've never used Excel before, you can see there are columns running vertically and there are columns running horizontally. So these columns on either across the top, which are labeled with the alphabet, and the ones along the side here, which are numbers, if you click or if you hover your mouse right over where the two meet, like between A and B here, you can see that you get a little line with an arrows pointing in either direction. That is so, and if you click on it and hold it down, you'll also see a little window pops up that shows you the width of the column. So what you can do is you can either manually move these columns to change the width, or I'll show you too when we put some things in that you can make the settings, you can mess with the settings in such a way that it'll automatically conform to the shape of what you've typed in there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start showing you how to modify this worksheet to create your own bill tracking system. I'm not going to get into things like formulas today. This is going to be very simple, something that I feel like everybody can do no matter their level of familiarity with Excel. So what we're going to do first is we're going to create the titles for our different columns. And since this is going to be for bill tracking, I'm going to start with the name of bill. And so you can see that that hangs over this first column for column A. And again, if I hover over that little line right in between A and B, I get that little double arrow. I haven't clicked anything yet, I'm just hovering over it. And if I double click it, it'll automatically reshape to what I've typed into that first column. Our second column, so first we're going to know who are we paying. And you can title that anything you want. You can title it, the, company name, or bill name, or, whatever suits you. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a dry throat today. But so I'm just going to call this the name of the bill. We want to know the amount due. So I have abbreviated amount there just because I don't want this column to be too large, and that's just personal preference. We want to know the date that it's due. We're going to want to know the amount paid. And this is if you have a bill, like say a credit card that you're trying to pay down, where you might have a minimum payment due, but you want to pay extra to pay it down. And I'm going to put a separate column for the date paid. And then any notes. So with these columns here, what I'm going to do now is I want to differentiate them so that they stand out a little bit more than the other columns I'm about to put in. So I'm going to hover my cursor over column 1 that they're in. I'm going to click on that so it highlights the column all the way across. And now if I put in any formatting here, since I've highlighted all the way, I've highlighted the entire row, any formatting I put in will automatically apply to any cell in that row. So I'm going to put this as bold. And you can see it's made all my words bold there. Now, if I were to add another column, like if I wanted to know like the interest that I paid or something like that, then you can see it's already in bold. I'm also going to underline these columns, but I don't want that to go all the way across with this underline. So I'm just going to highlight the cells that I want underlined. So how I do that is hover my cursor over, click and hold down, and then drag my mouse across the cells that I want underlined. And there's 2 ways to do this. You can either use the underline icon, which will actually underline the words themselves. And you can see there's a little bit of a distinction. The underlines are broken up. They're only under the words. They're slightly above the bottom of the column or the bottom of the cell. But what I think looks better and what I prefer is not to use the underline function, but to use this little thing right here, which is your borders for your cells. If you pull the pull down menu, you can see you can have bottom borders, top borders, left border, right border, no borders, all borders. You can have, there's a lot of options here. So I'm just going to do a bottom border. And as you can see, that creates one solid line going all the way across to underline all of these cells. Now, this system that I've used is something that I've used for so long now that I've gone down several pages from where I began. So I no longer see these top differentiators for each cell. I know what they are at this point. But what I do like to do is to put the month, so I know which month I'm on, because I will schedule out my bills ahead of time too. So like right now we're in the month of May. I want to know what's coming up in, beginning of June. What do I need to know? What needs to be paid on which paychecks? In our family, my husband and I are on different pay schedules. He gets paid weekly, I get paid bi-weekly. So it's like, okay, what needs to be paid a little bit more on those weeks that we're getting a bi-weekly paycheck? And this is how I keep myself kind of organized with not being surprised by like, oh yeah, I forgot the car payment, or I forgot, the garbage payment is coming out. So I will put the name of the month. So I'll put May 2020 here. And now you can see when I did that, the automatic formatting changed how this looks. So we've got May, and we've got -20. And you can see up in the formula bar there, up here, it shows the calendar date written out 5/1/2020. I don't really like the way this looks, so I'm going to change the formatting. Now, how do you do that in the individual cells? You hover your mouse over, right click, and you'll get this drop-down menu that comes up. And you can see things like cut and paste options, insert, delete. I'll get into that too, like where it comes to inserting and deleting. Since Excel is a spreadsheet that kind of works in rows and cells all together, there's sometimes where you want to delete an entire row. There's sometimes if you delete just that cell, things are going to shift oddly. So we'll get into that. Filter and sort are things I'm not going to get into today because it's just not necessary for the purposes of this. But I'm going to go down here where it says format cells. And I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to get this menu, and it shows you how do you want to format your cells. And you can see that it's showing the way it's set up right now is month dash, year. So just the month dash abbreviated into 3 letters dash only 2 digits of the year. So if I go to date, I can have it set up so it's just showing the month / day / year. I can have it actually say, what day it is. I can do it where it's sort of inverted with the year then the month. And how I want it actually is let me see, maybe I had custom made this. I like it with the month and the 4-digit year. So I'm just going to add in, I'm going to customize mine. This is maybe a step higher than some people want to go. For a lot of people, just what's there is fine. I don't know, for some reason I like to show the 4 digits of the year, so I'm customizing that there, so it's showing me the abbreviation, but it's also showing me the whole year. Now this you can make bold if you'd like. If you want to differentiate it from the top lines, you could make it maybe italicized. So now we're going to start getting into making our actual bill tracker spreadsheet. So I'm just going to make up some, general bills that we all might have. So let's say we have our cable bill, we've got our garbage bill, maybe NYSEG, New York, your New York Energy, maybe a credit card. So you could put, if it's Citibank or if it's, yeah, let's just put Citibank, or you could put Capital One or M&T, of course, I'm drawing a blank. I pay bills all the time, but so you've got your if you have a mortgage, let's do your car insurance, your car payment maybe. And then as those things start to fill out, you can double click again on this line and sort of move those out further. Let's say, and I'm going to probably make up some amounts that are going to make people go, I wish, but just for ease of, let's say your cable bill is $75. Let's say your garbage is $30. Your NYSEG that month is $98.16. Your minimum payment on your credit card is $21. Let's say your mortgage is $1,136.48. Your car insurance is $112.89, and maybe your car payment is $211.75. Now you can see that again, the automatic formatting has done some funny stuff here. For those things that didn't have any change, it just made them a 2-digit number. Now, what we can do is to go ahead, and I'm going to highlight the entire column here that I'm doing. So I'm going to start at the 75. I'm just going to hover over it. I'm going to click my mouse, drag it down, and I'm going to format all of those columns. So again, I right click, go down to format cells. Now I want these to show that they're money. So I'm going to show currency. And you can see here it's asking how many decimal places and what kind of symbols. So do you want the dollar sign, and how many decimal places do you want to show? Now, since we're dealing with money, we're going to show 2 decimal places. If we were doing something a bit more complicated with numbers where we needed to show, several decimal places out, we can adjust that. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And it's going to show all my numbers there. Now, how I organize my bills when I put them in to begin with is by date. So I start with whatever's due earliest in the month. So let's say your cable bill is due on the 1st of May. So I'm going to put 5/1/2020. And your garbage bill is due on the 5th. And maybe your NYSEG is due on the 12th. And you can see that one, it automatically moved the column out for me because what I put in there wasn't, it knew it was a date and it knew it wasn't going to fit, so it made more space. Let's say you have to pay your credit card on the 17th. Your mortgage is due on the 20th. And maybe your car payment and your car insurance are due on the same day. So we'll put, oops, I didn't mean 2. That's February. And oh my goodness, this one, for some reason, I'm just not able to, there we go. Okay, so now for some of these, maybe the amount that you pay isn't going to change. Maybe you pay like your car insurance, you're always going to pay the same. And maybe you have some things that come out automatically. So let's say that if your car insurance, you have it set up for automatic payment, what I do where it says date paid, and you actually, if you don't want this amount paid column, you don't need it there. You can take it out. Let's say that you decide you don't want it and you want to delete that whole column. What you do is you hover your mouse over the column. Sorry, my children are apparently playing with our doorbell. Lost my train of thought. So you hover over that entire column, click it, it'll highlight all the way down. And if you right click and hit delete, that whole column is deleted. Now let's say maybe I decided, oh, I really do want that column and I just deleted it. I can go up to where you see this little arrow pointing backwards and hit undo. And there it is, it's back again. So let's say that your car insurance is paid automatically. So you don't really need to record the day that you paid it. What I'll do is I'll just type in auto, or, so I know, okay, that's an automatic payment. So maybe amount paid, I can either put in the amount that is due so that I know, like, that's the amount that's coming out, or I could just put like NA for not applicable, whatever works for you. I'll just put the amount so we know, like, okay, that's the amount coming out. Let's say you have a balance on your credit card and you're trying to pay it down. So by paying the minimum payment, generally it's going to take a lot longer to pay off. So your minimum payment might be small, but you're wanting to pay more. So that's where this amount paid helps to come in. Say only 21 was due, but you paid 50. And you paid it on, say you paid it on the 1st of the month. So you already paid that. And please disregard the screaming children in the background. It's actually nice weather outside, and they are outside chasing each other with squirting water things. So, And again, I'm going to format this cell so that it matches the other one. I do that by highlighting it, right-clicking. I'm going to select currency. I want the dollar symbol. I want the 2 decimal places. Now notes, what I like to do with this is I like to make this a wider area. Excuse me for just one moment. All right, so I had to pause there for a minute and go deal with some screaming children in the background. And we're back. All right, so basically, what I do like to do with this note column is if I have a particular goal in mind, like I'm saying, like I want to pay down or I want to pay off, you know, this credit card by the end of the year. So I will just write myself a little note, you know, goal paid off by, you know, December 31st, 2020. Or, you know, maybe I want to make extra payments on my car. So I might put a note for myself that like pay, you know, $250 per, you know, month. So whoops, month. So that way too, I can know if I'm paying extra on my bills. You know, I can put that I made the payment of $250 instead of the $2. You know, or maybe over here, my note to myself is the fact that, you know, that gives me an extra, what would that be? $38.25, you know, paid towards principal. If I could spell. Okay. So, so that way I'm, you know, I'm being able to leave myself little notes about maybe what my goals are, what I'm trying to reach as I do these, you know, as I pay month by month. Now the next step of this is how I will have, you know, several more bills in a list. So sometimes it can get kind of confusing about what I'm paying when. So what I will do is I will sort of color code things by week. I have a calendar right behind my computer so that I can see it easily, but also you can always click down here in the corner of your computer and on the time and date, and it'll pull up a calendar, and then you can sort of see, you know, so I can sort of gauge by, you know, Fridays what bills need to be paid. So like the cable bill is due the first week, so I do a rainbow scale. So, you know, I'll make that one red, and then you know, that paycheck on the 1st, it goes in on the 1st, but it goes until the 8th. So you also need to have the money, enough money to cover the garbage that week. And then the next pay period would be from the 8th to the 12th. So, or I'm sorry, the 8th to the 15th. So that would be this bill, you know, and I'll make that one orange. And then the next pay period in this particular month is from the 15th to the 22nd. So both of these bills fall on that. And what I do is I make it like an orangey yellow, because if you make it yellow, you won't be able to see it. You know, and then the next bill period is from the 28th to the 29th. So obviously, you know, these two are both going to fall on that, and we'll make that one green. And then that way it just gives me like a shorthand sort of, sometimes you get those odd weeks or odd situations where a bunch of bills just happen to, by the date on the calendar, happen to clump together. And in that case, you might want to shift some things. So you might want to say, okay, I know I've got, such and such coming up. So maybe this credit card bill, I'm going to pay with these first bills, so I'll make that one red. And then that way that calls out to me that it's like, okay, everything in red is getting paid. And then as I pay those things, what I do is every Friday I open up this spreadsheet. I go in, I pay my bills, and as they're paid, this is where I would start to fill out like, okay, I paid $75 to the cable company. I paid that on the day it was due. And maybe I paid the garbage company on the same day because I'm doing my bills all at once. And, same thing here. These all got paid on the same day. So now what I will do is I will highlight those rows and go up here. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't actually say this part, did I? What you have up here in your taskbar is, you can obviously see this can become quite complicated if you want to go that far. The home tab up here is where you get your basic formatting. So for this, I go up here and this is font color, this like A with the bar of color underneath it. That is going to change the color of the font itself. This paint bucket is a fill color. So that would be, you would end up filling in the entire cell. So maybe you do want to call something out in a way that you really know, like maybe you're canceling service before end of month. Maybe you're moving or something. So maybe in that case, you would want to really highlight it and call it out and say, this is important, something that catches your eye. But for the font color, what I will do is, as things get paid, I will highlight the entire row. So again, I hover my mouse over that, click, and I'm holding the button down so that I can drag it down to the next row. And in this case, I don't want it red for the font color. I want to pull down the drop-down menu, and I'm going to make it black to show that I already paid it. Same thing with this bill. I'm going to highlight the entire row. And now, as a little quick key sort of thing, they've now switched to black automatically for you, so you can just click black. And that shows me, okay, those things are paid. They've been taken care of. The next week when I go in, I open the spreadsheet, I say, okay, what needs to be paid? I need to pay the NYSEG bill. So what I will do then is, as I'm doing this moving forward, and I probably should have done this before I filled all these other things in, but what I will do is I will copy this over so that I have a fresh rows of the pre-typed in bills. Sorry, words today. So I already have that to look ahead for the month. So maybe I want to hover over here, hold left click, hold it down, highlight all of these, and then I'm going to right click and hit copy. And since I'm not just copying into, well, in this case, since I'm copying the whole chunk all the way across, I can just click on an empty cell. Here, I leave myself an empty row of cells, just so I have a visual marker. Right click and paste. Now, what I would do is normally, sometimes I do forget and I do it this way, and then I have to go back and kind of update everything because I've already filled it in for the month. But what I can do here is just go ahead and change the month. I'm doing June 2020. So all of these now need to change to, the new date that they're due on the 6th. And I just go in there and change those, and then I will take out all of these things. So except this part maybe where it says auto, or maybe some of the notes that I've made for myself. Okay, so I paused it there for a minute, but I went ahead and finished filling that in with the June dates. So what I will do at that point is, and I basically do this, it doesn't take long. I mean, a lot of people, I think that it takes a long time and they'll just never be able to do it, but it's really something you just get in the habit of doing. I basically open my spreadsheet up every Friday. I pay the bills that are due that day. If I'm getting towards the end of the month, or if I know I have something coming up next month, like I know that it's a birthday coming up, or Christmas is coming, or or maybe the quarterly water bill is coming, so I need to factor that in. I will go ahead and copy and paste those months out and edit them, so to have the right dates and whatnot, so that I'm sort of prepared. And then that way I can kind of shift my pay dates around. Like I said, if you need to say you have a bill that isn't due for another couple weeks, but okay, this week I have extra money, and I know that it's going to be tight towards the end of the month, so I'm going to actually go ahead and pay this bill ahead of time, which is a wonderful thing to do. So that's how I track my bills. There is one last thing that I am going to show, and I'll show very quickly, is down here at the bottom, you can see where it says sheet 1. This is your worksheet number 1. Now, all you have to do is click on that. Sorry, double click on it, and it'll highlight the name, and then you can type in a new name. So let's say this is bills due. Now, if you want to track all your finances in one place, like maybe you want to start a savings account, or you want to monitor, how much you're putting into your savings account, so you want another worksheet for that. Down here, you can see there's a little plus sign. If you click that, it'll give you a new blank sheet. So in this case, I do also track my savings as well. So I'll put, savings account. And how I do that, and in this case, I don't want to make this column as big as this header. So I might make that bold so I can call it out, but maybe I want to put, I'll put the date. I will put amount, and I will put total. So I keep it very simple. And I'll also make these bold, and I will underline those. So let's say that I know, I'm going to be paid on the 1st of the month. I'm going to be paid on the 8th of the month, the 15th, the 22nd, the 29th, and then going into June, the next Friday would be the 5th. So if I'm trying to start a savings, or maybe I just want to get better at putting savings into it, maybe I know the weeks that only one of us gets paid, that we're just going to put in $25. And maybe the week that we both get paid, with getting paid bi-weekly, I'm going to put in $50. So I can just alternate those amounts. And again, I personally like the way it looks when it's got the money formatting. So I'm going to go format it to currency. And then let's say I already had $200 in my account. And you could even, maybe put up here that, you started with 200. So when you make your first deposit, you will have 225. And then, your next time you deposit, it'll go up to 275. And then 300, I want to go down. You can use the arrow keys on your keyboard too to switch between this. It doesn't have to all be on your mouse. And what I will do for this is with my savings, I find it works better for me to go ahead and plan it out. So since we are on the 21st, we'll say that, let's say I've already made these deposits on the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, and the 20th, but I haven't made the 22nd, the 29th, or the 5th yet. So I will color code those, and you can make them whatever color you want, but I will, well, you know, I'll make them red. And so then tomorrow, when my paycheck comes in, once I've made that transfer, I will go ahead and mark that in black so that I know I went ahead and I made that transaction. It's done. I've got $350 in my savings account. And that's a great way to get yourself to start saving, because I remember hearing one time that you should always pay yourself first, meaning, you know, you always want to have a savings account. Always, 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 even if you can only put a small amount in. So this is a great way to show that, because maybe you even, it's $10 a week. And you'll be really surprised by, if you make it a habit, how quickly that'll add up. One thing I will say is I just noticed that I actually ended up putting that underline all the way across. So let's say I realized I did that and I didn't want that. What I can do is highlight that entire row, pull down the menu for the borders, select no borders. So those borders are now gone. Then go back and just select the ones I wanted and put the underline of the border just on those 3 cells. And again, if I want to rename this sheet, I can just double click and maybe you just call it savings. And then to switch back and forth, you just click on the tabs down here and you can move easily between one and the other. And you can have many worksheets. You can have as many worksheets as you want. I mean, I've seen them where they go all the way off the side. So this was a very simple demonstration on how to track your bills using Excel. You know, all you need is some time in your computer, and it really is very basic, very easy. I've been doing this for years now, and I've tried the more sophisticated worksheets. I've tried the templates, and they either have stuff that I don't need, or they just don't work for me. Whereas this, I found that the simplicity works, as well as just getting into the routine of doing it. And in this method, in this way, I do not miss payments. I don't miss pay dates. I don't have any late payments. I don't have any you know, any dings on my credit from paying things late. I also, you know, have worked up a savings account. And one other thing I would suggest too is, and I just don't think we have time to do it today, but is I also have another worksheet on my personal tracker for goals. I think it's very important to set goals for yourself. So you can modify that just in the same way I've showed you here, is just naming different columns and you know, setting yourself a goal like I want to have my smallest credit card paid off in the next 6 months, and then figure out, how do you do that? Okay, how much, you know, do I need to make that payment? Or say you want to save up for a car, so you know, okay, I need to have $1,000 in my savings account by this date. And once you set those goals for yourself, then you can really know where you're going for your other tracking systems. So it makes everything work together. And what I like about it is that it's all in one place. It's all in one worksheet. The last thing I'll show you is how to save it. So if you go up to here where it looks like a little hard disk, little floppy disk for those of us that remember those, you know, choose the location. I'm going to put it right on my desktop. And I will call it bill tracking sheet. Simple, easy to remember. Hit save. And so then it will be, I've got so many things open. Bill tracking sheet. Right here, right on my desktop. So that way it's right where I can find it. I can pull it up, every Friday. It's right there. And it really is just getting into the habit of doing it. And from there, you can go as crazy as you want to. You can start doing formulas to add up, automatically add up. Okay, how much are my bills costing me every month? How much am I paying on them? You can start putting in a lot of automatic settings too to add it up for you. So you can really get as sophisticated as you want. But hopefully this simple demonstration was enough to show you how to get started in Excel, how to track your bills and your expenses, which is really the first step of setting a budget. You got to know where you're starting from. You got to know where your money's going. And then you can also, from there, you can do a lot of things. You can see like, okay, maybe we don't need this. Maybe we can take that out, or maybe we're paying too much for garbage service. We could pay, this company this much, or you could even create a tracking sheet for eating out or expenses, how much you're spending on gas, how much you're spending on groceries. It really is, the sky's the limit, but hopefully this will at least get you your foot in the door so that you can start using Excel. I do thank you for joining me. I do apologize for the bit of the ramblingness and the kids yelling in the background. We're all having fun in this lovely, beautiful weather we now have. So, but I do thank you for joining me. I hope you're all having a happy, healthy, wonderful time out in this lovely May day. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you later.